and fall has fallen. Fall has fallen. So man, look, we gonna make it do what it do. It ain't even light outside yet, but you know what? That's all right, because the song says, "Let there be light. Open up the eyes of the blind." So we believe in this morning that God's gonna illuminate some stuff for us. He gonna show us some stuff, because this thing has been in my heart since last week. Like literally, I hit the button. I told y'all, see you next week, and boom, this download came for what we're going to talk about today. And when I got up this morning, I'm even pressed even more to really dig into this, because I know, sometimes when as we go through life, and we endeavor to be bold, as we endeavor to press toward the mark, as we endeavor to stretch ourselves, as we endeavor to push past our comfort zones, as we endeavor to do all of those things, sometimes sometimes we will encounter those that would try to discourage us. One of the things that I know, is that in a lot of the spaces, and a lot of the workshops and things that I've done lately, on my business side, in the leadership area, I've done a lot. I do a workshop called Motivating Yourself and Others. I thought it was a very strange request, but as I started to kind of put that together, um, God really reminded me of a few things, and He reminded me that motivation is internal. It's an internal mechanism. It's an internal practice. And so as I've gone into different companies and I've done this particular session, it's only about 2 hours long. It's very interactive, and we actually teach reset in that one. But here's something that I realized driving back from one particular city that I was in, was that there has been almost a spirit of discouragement that has been released over many in the business sector. Imagine being in a place where you've worked and you strived and you've have built things, and now all of a sudden the pandemic happens, and a lot of that is upset, and so now you're fighting hard to push and to get ourselves back in a place where we can maintain it, and many of them with less people than what they had before, not because they even laid off people, but simply because people saw other jobs and they did other things, and so there was a sense of discouragement. But I love doing it, because by the time I leave, I get to see the light come on. I get to see them start to get their wheels turning again, and start to see that that it is possible, that we can press through. And despite what people might say, we're going to come out better on the other side of this. It's going to force us to change. It's going to force us to innovate. And that is the place that I believe that many of us find ourselves in life, each and every day, in our ministries. If that's where you are in your business, if that's where you are. And so I want to have this conversation this morning. And like I said, as soon as I hit the button to hang up with you all last week, I got this download about this message, and it's all about overcoming discouragement and naysayers. It's all about overcoming discouragement and naysayers. I don't believe it's going to be very long, but I absolutely believe that this is going to be something that's going to be impactful to all of us. Because if we are honest with ourselves, as we look over the course of our life journey and all the things that we've been able to accomplish, every last one of us, if we honest with ourselves, we have encountered a naysayer. We have encountered a person who has said, I don't believe it. We have encountered a person that said, you can't do it. And so how then do we deal with those people when they are already in our presence? How do we deal with those people? Now, I'm not even talking about the new people that's coming from the outside, the quote unquote haters. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the people that are closest to you. I'm talking about the people that walk with you. I'm talking about the people that you got relationship with. Those are the people that I'm talking about. I ain't talking about the haters, because they can stay out there and they can do whatever it is they want to do. But what happens when that discouragement comes from the inner circle? Right? When that discouragement or that naysaying comes from the people that should know better, because they have seen your works, they've seen your grind, they've seen your grit, they've seen you overcome obstacles and challenges, and they've walked with you, and they've held your hand, and they've even supported you. But then all of a sudden, this one thing that you do is so big that they just can't believe what they seeing. They just can't believe what they seeing. So let's get into it. I had to give y'all that. That was on my heart this morning. And I pray that you are blessed and you are encouraged this morning by what we're about to talk about. So write in your notes, John chapter 20, from the book of John chapter 20. I'm going to read you 24 through 27. I'm going to read you 24 through 27, and I'm going to read it in the New Living Translation. Y'all know I love that plain English version. Man, that New Living Translation, it ain't never did nothing to me. It ain't never did nothing to me. I love the New Living Translation because it just gets right to the point. There ain't nothing wrong with some good King Jimmy. Ain't nothing wrong with some good King Jimmy. But man, I'm telling you, there's something about when you can take that King James version with the D's and thous and the dust and all of this stuff, and then you lay it side by side with that New Living or the English Standard Version or something like that, man, it just opens up your eyes. It opens up your, the way that you interpret and read through the word. And I tell y'all all the time, the reason that I take time to do this at the beginning is simply because God told me, hey, all of this content that you're doing in the Breakfast Club, and you know where it's coming from, so you need to share it with them so they can go back and read it for themselves. So it ain't just for me to just tell you. I want you to go back and read this for yourself and allow God to speak to you and show you how it works and applies to you and your situation and whatever it is that you got going on. All right, let's work. John chapter 20, verses 24 through 27 in the New Living Bible. Here we go. One of the 12 disciples, Thomas, nicknamed the twin, was not with the others when Jesus came. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? I ain't got the time though. They told him, "We have seen the Lord." But he replied, "I won't believe it unless I see the nail wounds in his hand, put my finger into them, and place my hand into the wound in his side." Now, ain't that some kind of stipulation? I ain't gonna believe it. Now, here's what done happened. So, Jesus done went to Calvary. He done died on the cross, and now he done came back. Mary Magdalene done showed up, and the tomb was empty. And now Jesus is up and walking around, and he has done exactly what he said he was gonna do. If you tear this temple down, I ain't got the time. In 3 days, I'll rebuild it again. He done did it again. And so now he's back, and now he's coming in the midst of the disciples. And so now you have the man that we call Doubting Thomas saying, "I won't believe it unless I see the nail wounds, I put my finger in them, and I place my hand into the wound in his sides." 8 days later, the disciples were together again, and this time Thomas was with them. It's about to go down. The doors were locked, but suddenly, as before, Jesus was standing among them. "Peace be with you," he said. "Peace be with you." Then he said to Thomas, "Put your finger here. Look at my hands. Put your hand into the wound in my side. Don't be faithless any longer. Believe." Believe. So just for a subject, for all us copious note takers in the Breakfast Club, write this subject down. I got receipts. I got receipts. And so here we have the Son of Man. He done went to the cross. He's been raised. They done went to the tomb looking for him. He ain't there, and now he is loose and he is on the streets. He walking around and he coming in and out and he weaving and he bobbing and he doing what he doing. He's showing himself to people, and now he again 8 days later he showed up because the disciples said, "Hey, he done came back," and Thomas said, "I ain't gonna believe it." So this thing that Jesus had already told them that he was gonna do, this thing that they walked with him, and the whole purpose for him being what he was being, doing the things that he was doing, healing, delivering people, speaking the words that he spoke, encouraging people, and setting the stage. It all came up to this moment where he was going to die on the cross. But now you have this man named Thomas. And Thomas said, "I ain't going to believe unless I can see it, unless I can touch it, unless I can put my hand in it. I ain't going to believe it. I don't care what y'all say. I don't care what he say. I'm not going to believe it." And here is what I know, and here is where we got to get this morning. I just believe that some of us can identify with what Thomas was going through. Why? Because we have had some doubting Thomases in our life. We can identify with the words that he said, because when we told somebody, "I'm going to start a business," I can't see it, I can't believe it, you ain't got this. When you told somebody, "I'm going to get a college degree, I'm going to go be a doctor, I'm going to go be an engineer," whatever the case is, "I'm going to run for office," whatever the case is, I can't see it and I don't believe it. Glory to the Son of God. I can't see it and I don't believe it. It's some of us that have had some people. Let's take it all the way back in the day, because back in the day, graduating from high school was like a top feat and a top accomplishment, and it still is to this day, because you had some people, they were the first person in their family to graduate from high school, to get a high school diploma. And you even had people in your own family that said, "I can't see it, I can't believe it, and until I can touch it, I ain't on your side." And so we have all potentially, or many of us have experienced a doubting Thomas in our circle. A person that should have been on our side. A person that should have believed in us. A person that should have been the one encouraging us, but instead, that spirit of unbelief took over. That spirit of naysaying took over. Some of us have been in a place like me that in their career, I was told, "Well, this is as high as you gonna go." More than once. This is as high as you're gonna go, because you don't have this degree and you don't have that degree. And if you don't go and get this, then this is all you ever gonna be. Exact words. I wish I was exaggerating. This is all you ever gonna be. This is in this field of work. This is all there is for you. There ain't nothing else for you except this. And I tell people all the time, and this is not, to toot my own horn, but I know what my grandmom used to say, "It's a sorry dog that won't wag his own tail." And part of me wagging my tail is bragging on my God. And see, every time somebody has told me, "You can't, you won't, I don't see it," or anything like that, God has every time told me, "Shut your mouth. Don't you respond. Don't you say nothing, but watch me work." And he has done some stuff that has blown my mind. He done opened some doors for me that I know it was him. So I can't even take credit for it. I have to go back and say, "Man, if it had not been for the Lord who was on my side," because I know that's how it came to pass. I know it was him. I don't know about y'all. I don't know if anybody else has never seen God move and work in a miraculous way in your life, but I know I have more than once, over and over and over and over again. And so now we have Jesus. And so now in his inner circle, these disciples that walked with him, they talked with him, they ate with him, they took counsel with him. They got wisdom from him. They were trained by him. He was the one that was now preparing them to go out. And then he would call them. They would once be called disciples, and now all of a sudden they're going to be called apostles. They were going to be the ones that were going to go out and establish. They were going to be the ones that were going to go out and build. And now, but you have this one. You have this one in the inner circle who simply does not believe. I believe also that we can identify with Thomas because some of us, if we truly are honest with ourselves, we have been doubting Thomas. We have been that person where a friend or a family member or somebody or an acquaintance has said a particular thing. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And we've sat back and we've looked at them from the lens of where they were and who they were in that moment. And we said to ourselves, even if we didn't say it out loud, we said to ourselves, I don't really see that. I don't know how that's going to happen. Oh, they this now or they that now. and I'm just saying, y'all, I ain't messing with you. I'm just saying, but if you did that, you need to know that the Bible still said, do not limit the Holy One of Israel. And the Bible also says it does not yet appear what we shall be. So we can identify with Thomas because we have experienced him. Put this in your notes. We can identify with Thomas because we have experienced him in life, in career, and family, whatever the case is. But we can also identify with Thomas because we have been him. And so my declaration and my confession and my prayer for the rest of my days that I would never be doubting Thomas again. If you've ever been to my business page and you looked at my logo closer, then you know it says inspire, empower, and encourage. Those are the three words that God gave me. And so part of the reason when I, especially when I'm talking about the word of God, I always, want to encourage people because I understand and I see and I've experienced that attack of discouragement and I know what it's like. But now we talking about Jesus. And so now here Jesus comes back with a response. Jesus don't clap back. Jesus does not, he don't get mad. You don't hear any of that in there. All you hear is him continuing to go on with what he's doing. Because the fact of the matter is, number one, Jesus had already did what he said he was going to do. I don't need to explain it. You just don't believe it. I don't need to explain it again. You just don't believe it. So you need to know this morning that you trying to explain something to somebody that has already happened. What you trying to explain for because you've already did it. You got receipts. You already have receipts. Jesus was simply telling Thomas, brother, I ain't got to sit here and go back and forth with you on this because I got receipts. I got the scars. I got the nail prints. And no matter of fact, my main receipt and my biggest flex was the fact that I did exactly what I said I was going to do in the time frame in which I said I was going to do it. I told you 3 days and it was 3 days. It wasn't 4 days. It wasn't 5 days. It wasn't 7 days. It was 3 days. So I don't need to go back and forth and see some of us, y'all, when people come against us, when we have this attack of discouragement and people are naysaying and people are saying that we can't do it and all of those things and they question it. See, we take a posture of offense. Why? Because we are human. Because we are human. And we take up this posture of defense. But what happens when you got receipts? What happens when the fruit has already manifested? What happens when you already have the degree? What happens when the business license is already hanging on the wall? What happens when you've already started the organization? What happens when you already have the 501c designation? What happens then? What do we do in those cases? And who are these people that when they see that you got receipts, that they still don't believe? So here, Jesus shows up to Thomas and he tells him, listen, put your hand here. Look at this. Put your hand there. Because, baby boy, I got receipts. I got receipts. I don't know who this is for this morning, but y'all better listen, man. Stop running around here arguing with people, trying to defend, trying to justify, trying to explain when you know that God done blessed you and you got receipts. All they got to do is look back over your life, and they can look at the trajectory. They can look at the pace. They can look at the manifestation of some things that have already happened, and you got receipts. And even if you are not at the ultimate goal, but you are making progress, baby, you still got receipts. Somebody type in the chat. If you in the chat this morning, just type in there, I got receipts. I don't know about nobody else, but I got receipts. I got receipts to the goodness of God. I got receipts at the faith that faith is the substance of things hoped for, and it's the evidence of things not seen. Man, I got receipts. And so that's the posture that Jesus took. He didn't take a posture of offense. So put this in your notes. So when we have people that are naysayers, when we have them in our midst and in our circle, and we start to hear the things that they saying and the fact that they don't believe, we're not going to take a posture of offense. But what we are going to do is we just going to point them to the results. We just going to simply point them to the results. So Jesus shows back up on the scene 8 days later, and he tells Thomas, look, I understand that you don't believe, but we ain't got to have a conversation about it. We don't have to have a debate about it. He tells him, peace be with you. Put your finger here, look at my hands, and put your hand in my wound. And then he simply says, don't be faithless any longer. And then he gives him a word. He tells him, believe. Just believe. Believe is a whole message all in itself, but I ain't got the time. Believe. Believe. The very foundation of Thomas's doubt was the fact that he could not believe what he was saying. And so we have to ask ourselves, where exactly does belief and unbelief begin? Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Belief and unbelief begin in the same place, y'all. They begin in the heart. They begin in the heart. They begin in the heart. I believe that this unbelief that Thomas had was there the whole time, but it took an emotionally charged event like watching Jesus die on the cross to bring it up. Because what Thomas was really saying was, I don't not believe that you Jesus. I don't not believe that you the Messiah. I hadn't lost my faith. I hadn't lost my way, but I saw what they did on that cross. Some people, y'all, the fact that they can't believe it is simply because they know where you came from. So they struggling and they wrestling with the fact that, listen, I know where you came from. I know what you've had to fight through. I know the obstacles that you've overcome. I know the challenges. I saw everything that happened. And it's just hard for me to wrap my mind around the fact that you survived and that you made it and that you pressed your way through. But I just know that on the other side of through, that's where the blessing is. I'm just talking about me. I ain't talking about nobody else. I'm telling you about me. And so now we have Thomas. And he's got a naysayer, or he is the naysayer in the midst. And so I started to ask, okay, so God, what do we do when we have naysayers in the inner circle? What do we do when we have naysayers in the inner circle? Because it's easy for us to talk about, quote unquote, the haters. It's easy for us to talk about that because we are always told, well, you just got to ignore them, right? And you got to do. But what do you do when the relationship is still important? When the relationship still matters? What do you do when you don't want to excommunicate this person from the circle because they're important to you and you love them and you care for them, like Jesus did for Thomas? He loved him just like he loved all the rest of them that walked with him. And so I believe there's three things or three mindsets that we can learn from this particular encounter. And I want to share them with you because they apply to three different types of naysayers. Naysaying comes in levels. Naysaying comes in levels. Thomas never said, I'll never believe it. He just said, I need receipts. And Jesus provided that. So the first thing is you have people who may be in your inner circle. And let's talk about this one first, because I know we didn't kind of talked about Thomas, and we talked about these people being discouragers and stuff like that. However, sometimes, y'all, we are discouraged because there's people in our inner circle, and what they're saying may not be wrong. We just don't like it, if that makes sense. Okay, let me say it another way. So Deion Sanders said something in an interview. He's the coach of Jackson State, played in NFL, in the Hall of Fame, all that. And he said something that really struck me, and the phrase has been with me ever since then. He said, you might not like it, but I ain't lying. That might be a whole Breakfast Club. You might not like it, but I ain't lying. And so let's be honest, there are some people that are closest to us, or in close proximity or in relationship with us, where they seem to be that naysaying, that negative Nelly. But in actuality, what they are people that care enough to make us think twice. They're people that care enough to challenge us. They're people that care enough to question us. And so now, although for us, we in our feelings a little bit, and we think they just hating on me, or they just naysayers, or they trying to discourage me, and you won't never support me. They're questioning you from the lens of, hey, are you sure about this? Is this the route that you want to go? Have you thought about this? And so those people, what we want to do is strategy number one, and we want to recruit them. We want to recruit them. We want to bring them into our perspective. And the way that we do that is simple. I told you what the title of this message was. I got receipts. And so the thing that you're going to do to help recruit them and bring them in and take away that doubt in their mind, the questions that they have in their mind, the challenge that they have in their mind, is you're going to show them that you have done your due diligence. You're going to show them that you've worked the process. You're going to show them that you've asked the question. And most importantly, you're going to show them that you're serious about what you're doing. One of the things that people do pretty often is that we come up with great ideas. We come up with great plans. But if we don't press through and we don't put the corresponding behaviors and the actions behind it, then those plans can't ever come to life. I think we probably all know one or two people over the course of our life where they talk a good game, but they don't really produce anything. Why? Because they don't really go back and put the effort in. It's not because they are not capable. I know that's what we like to say. It's not that they're not capable. That's not the problem. It's the fact that they just don't put the effort into making happen what it is that they said. And so for them, those people around them, like you and I, who are questioning and saying, or going back and reminding them, hey, you said you was going to do this. Why haven't you done it yet? What's the hold up? What you waiting on? And all of this, when they hear it over and over and over again, they take that posture of offense. They take that posture of offense. And so in essence, yeah, we do doubt. We are naysaying, but we ain't trying to discourage. What we're trying to do is motivate. What we're trying to do is press them. And so I need you to first and foremost be able to discern the difference. That's why I talked about this one first. You got to discern the difference between doubters and people that are trying to push you. You got to discern the difference between people that are just negative Nelly naysayers and people that are trying to push you, because they are not the same people. Because see, these people, those ones that are trying to push you, see, they have a care for you. They have a concern for you. They have a love for you. Why? Because they see what you are capable of. And because they see what you're capable of, they ain't willing to back up. They ain't willing to come up off their stance. But what you can do is that you can recruit them and you can bring them into the fold and you can help them see what you see. You can help them see what you see. You can help them see what you see. Okay. The second strategy is redirecting. So number one, we have recruiting, and so we know who that strategy is for. But the second thing is we got to learn to redirect. And so there are some people that always come with unsolicited opinions. There are some people that always come with unsolicited opinions. Y'all know them. Y'all know somebody. They always come with unsolicited opinions. There's always one that they always got something to say. They always got something to add. And you ain't bit more asked them than a man in the moon, but they always got these unsolicited opinions. And so as opposed to being offended, what we need to do is we have to be able to redirect them. We have to be, and so when you think about redirecting, I think back to my time in working with young people when they were acting up and acting out. It wasn't always about punishment, but sometimes you have to redirect. You have to redirect what? I'm glad you asked. You got to redirect their focus. You got to redirect them in a way that they get themselves in a place where they are not so concerned about what you got going on. Man, listen to what I'm telling you in here. If you don't go back and watch Mind Your Business, you need to go back in the group, find the Breakfast Club title, Mind Your Business, and you need to go back and watch that, because that's exactly who this is directed to. Because each of us has something that we should be focused on. Each of us has something that we should be focused on. And see, this comes from a very critical spirit. This comes from a spirit that, yes, it is out to discourage. It is out to tear down. It is out to put up barriers and to cause you to have blocks. But see, if you don't learn the art of redirection, then what you're going to find yourself doing is you're going to find yourself arguing back and forth. See, this one is the one that you're going to try to argue with. This one is the one that you're going to try to cuss out. This one is the one that you're going to try to quote unquote convince. This is that one. So you just got to simply learn to redirect. And redirection is an art form. It is a skill that we got to develop. If you got kids, then you understand. Sometimes you have to redirect them. And when you redirect something, you are simply pointing them down a different path. The way that you do that is, what you got to try to help them do is to see, number one, this ain't your dream, this ain't your vision, this ain't your goal, this ain't. So what you're saying, while I appreciate that, I don't really need that. And so maybe the unsolicited information is something that you already thought about. Well, you got to let them know that. Yeah, I already thought about that. I've done research on that. See, that's how you redirect people. And so you let them know in a very nice way, because we're gonna do it right. We ain't gonna just tell people to get out our business and get out our face and all this stuff. Even though there might be a time for that, but that's for another Breakfast Club. However, there might be some times where you have to simply and gently redirect somebody. Yeah, I appreciate what you're saying. Thank you for that, for that feedback. But that's not really where I am right now. I'm not at that phase yet. I have a plan, and I'm sticking to the way that I'm walking through this. And then by the end, I know I'll get to where I need to be. So I'm taking small steps at a time. Redirection. You see how that is? You see how that is? Now, what you do when they get real aggressive about it and they want, you might have to get a little bit more aggressive in your stance. That's where you might have to dig yourself in. That's where you might have to be a little bit more forceful, and you got to be a little bit more bold. The Bible says, let your yes be yes and let your no be no. And so there comes a time, y'all, listen, as saved, Holy Ghost filled, and fire baptized as we are, we have to let people know, and we have to be willing to let people know where we stand. And you ain't got to tell everybody your business, but what you can do is you can let them know, hey, listen, I appreciate what you're saying and everything, but I got a plan. I'm good on this. And then we redirect the conversation to something else. And then last but certainly not least, y'all ready? So we said, number one, there's a group that we got to recruit them. Number two, there's a group we got to redirect them. Now, I want to talk to you about the group that we have to restrict. So we had to recruit, we might have to redirect, but sometimes, y'all, we might have to restrict. So there are some people. This is for the ones that's always negative. And you know that you know that you know that they shown up are just trying to hold you down. It don't matter what you do, they're gonna be negative. How many positive step forwards you take, they're gonna be negative. We probably know somebody or have experienced somebody like that in our life where we have said, man, it ain't never good enough. We it ain't never good enough. They ain't never satisfied, and they always negative. Now, when you begin to get those people in your inner circle, it can be particularly damaging. And so, what you got to do is you got to restrict their access. You got to restrict their access. I know that we done all heard somebody say, "Listen, you can't tell everybody your business. You can't tell everybody all your plans." Sometimes, y'all, we overshare. Let me say that again. Sometimes, y'all, we overshare. Sometimes, y'all, we overshare. One more time for the people in the back. Sometimes, y'all, we overshare. We simply just overshare. We give too much information and we give too much access. Those are the two things. We give too much information and we give too much access. And so now we have this group of people that will come that we know that they're going to be negative no matter what it is, no matter how good we're doing, no matter how much progress we make, and to them everything is small. To us it's a huge deal. Yeah, I finally got what I needed to get my business license. And to them, to you, it's a huge deal, but to them they downplaying it. And for you, oh man, I finally, did this, or I finally signed up for that class. And to them, to you, it's a big deal, but to them, it's a small thing. Y'all, it ain't nothing we can do to change some people's mindset, but what we can do is we can restrict their access. And we gotta be content with allowing them just to read the receipt when it's all said and done. And so here we have Jesus. Thomas was intent on being negative. Thomas was intent on doubting. That is, he was intent on doing that. Jesus didn't try to convince him. Jesus didn't try to do anything at first. Jesus went on his way, and then he circled back, and he came back. Hey, the Bible said he came back a whole 8 days later. I don't know if y'all know, but the last time I checked, the number 8 was the number for new beginnings. So I'm going to give you a do-over. I'm going to come back. And he came back with a plan. He came back with a plan. He said, listen, put your finger here, look at my hands, and put your hand in my wound. Don't be faithless any longer. Believe. So what we see is, when Thomas started this, when the disciples said, we've seen the Lord, and Thomas was like, I won't believe it unless I see the nail wounds, unless I can put my fingers in there, and unless I can place my hand in his side. And then it says 8 days later. Oh man, y'all don't miss that. 7 is the number of completion, but 8 is the number for new beginnings. He gave Thomas an opportunity to renew his vision. Come on here, reset. He gave Thomas the opportunity to renew his vision. But Jesus didn't just show up, he showed up with a plan. He gave Thomas exactly what he asked for. He came back saying, oh man, I got you, because I got receipts. I got receipts. Put your hand right here. Look at this. Put your hand in the wound. I got receipts. I don't need to make this up. Ain't nobody trying to trick or bamboozle you, but I got receipts. We spending a bunch of time trying to argue and justify ourselves, trying to win approval, trying to do all of these things, when actually, y'all, we already have all the evidence that we need of how God has moved, how he has helped, and how he has elevated us to be able to accomplish certain things in our life. So as you press through these final 74 days of this year, just know if you come up against a doubter or a naysayer, y'all, it's going to be okay. Do what Jesus did. Play it cool. Play it cool. Because when you think about it, you too have receipts. Man, I hope y'all got something out of this. I have thoroughly enjoyed this Breakfast Club. I don't know about y'all, but I done encouraged myself this morning because I know just how good God has been. And man, I know that the best is yet to come. So, this is what I want y'all to do. These last 74 days, it's time to match the gas. Let's look at those plans. Let's see what's still on the board. And let's decide what's important now. And let's go after it. Let's make it happen. There's a whole world waiting for us to manifest and become. We just got to do it. You can't be stopped by a doubter, a hater, a naysayer, or anybody else. All the doubting Thomases, man, you got receipts for them. You have receipts for them. And if you ain't got them now, you will have them. So we don't need to argue and go back and forth with people. We don't need to do Facebook and social media jousting with people. We don't need to do any of that, y'all. For what? It doesn't matter. People can throw shade and they can do all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, you can say, I got receipts. All right, man, I appreciate y'all. Y'all stay safe out there. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. If you in the greater Columbus, Georgia area, y'all please stay cool because y'all know this cold, stay warm because y'all know this cold weather is not what we do. I think the high's supposed to be something like 59 degrees today. Oh, Lord, have mercy. I need to go dig out my sweaters or something. I don't know what's going on. I need to find my corduroy and my boots. All right, man. But all seriousness, man, I appreciate y'all. Hey, y'all stay safe. We're going to catch y'all next time. 74 days. Let's get it. See y'all next time.